There's one force that separates the ordinary from the unstoppable. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not connections or circumstance, it's persistence. Persistence is the silent power behind every great achievement. It's the engine that keeps running long after excitement fades. It's the heartbeat of every success story the world admires but rarely understands. Most people quit when things get hard. They hit one wall and they turn back. They hear one no and they surrender. They taste one failure and they redefine themselves as someone who tried. But the few, the rare, the relentless, they don't stop. They don't even pause. They run through walls. They hear no and translate it as not yet. They taste failure and ask for another serving because they know. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the process. Every empire was built by someone who refused to quit. Thomas Edison failed over 10,000 times before the light bulb worked. He didn't call it failure. He called it education. Henry Ford's first companies collapsed. People laughed at his idea of cars for the masses. But Ford kept going because he believed in progress over perfection. Disney was told he had no imagination. Lincoln lost more elections than he won. Carnegie started as a laborer before he became the king of steel. They all understood the same truth. The game belongs to the one who stays in it the longest. Persistence is not glamorous. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's showing up when no one is watching. It's working while others sleep. It's failing, adjusting, and moving forward over and over again until the world has no choice but to notice. The world does not reward talent alone. It rewards relentlessness. The people you admire didn't get there because life was kind to them. They got there because they refused to stop. They didn't avoid pain. They learned to use it. Most people think persistence is about grinding harder. It's not. It's about believing so deeply in your purpose that quitting is not even on the table. It's not an option. It's not in your vocabulary. It's not coded into your system. Think of a river carving through rock. The river is not stronger than the stone, but it is more relentless. Day after day, year after year, it keeps flowing. And eventually, the rock bends to the river, not because of power, but because of persistence. That's life. That's success. That's you. If you refuse to stop, you cannot lose. You can only learn, adjust, and grow. Persistence is the secret behind every breakthrough. It's the reason the Wright brothers flew when experts said it was impossible. It's the reason Edison lit up the world after thousands of failures. It's the reason Disney built magic from rejection. They didn't stop because they couldn't. They didn't stop because they wouldn't. Most people quit 3 feet from gold. They dig and dig, then stop right before the breakthrough. Because the resistance gets heavy. Because the mind says, maybe this isn't for me. Because the world says, be realistic. But reality belongs to the persistent. The world adjusts to those who refuse to bend. You don't need to be the smartest. You don't need to be the fastest. You don't need to be the most talented. You just need to be the most consistent. Persistence is a decision, not a feeling. If you wait to feel motivated, you'll lose. If you wait for conditions to be perfect, you'll never begin. Winners don't wait for motivation. They create momentum. Momentum comes from movement, and movement comes from persistence. Doing the work when it's boring, when it's hard, when no one believes in you yet. That's how empires are built, in silence, in sweat, in solitude. And then, one day, the world notices, and they call you an overnight success. But you'll know the truth. It wasn't overnight. It was persistence. Discipline fuels persistence. Discipline is saying yes to the long game. It's saying no to distractions, no to excuses, no to temporary comfort that robs you of permanent greatness. It's doing the right thing when no one is watching. It's grinding through the days that don't feel rewarding because you understand. Reward comes to the consistent, not the occasional. Most people dip their toe in. They try a little. They quit when results don't show up fast. But you can't dabble in greatness. You either commit or you don't. Purpose fuels persistence. When you know why you're doing it, you'll find the strength to keep going. When you tie your actions to something bigger than you, your family, your legacy, your mission, quitting becomes illogical. You don't negotiate with your dreams. You fight for them, every day. No matter how you feel, persistence is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about becoming better, not about being flawless. Failure is part of the equation. Mistakes are part of the formula. Every no gets you closer to a yes. Every fall teaches you how to stand taller. Resilience is persistence in action. It's standing back up when life knocks you down. It's using rejection as fuel, not as a reason to stop. It's understanding that success is not a straight line. It's a maze. And the only way to win the maze is to keep moving. When you fall, get back up. When you fail, try again. When you feel stuck, push forward anyway. You don't have to know the whole path, you just have to take the next step. Persistence is about showing up for yourself. Day after day, action after action, decision after decision, until the world starts to reflect the standard you set. Most people think failure is final, but the persistent know failure is feedback. It's not the end, it's information. You take the lesson, adjust the plan, and move forward stronger. Persistence is the cure for almost. Almost tried, almost started, almost became great, almost is the language of regret. Persistence is the language of legacy. When you decide you won't stop, you remove failure as a destination. Because the only real failure is quitting. And you don't quit. Because you can't fail if you refuse to stop. Persistence is the invisible force behind every breakthrough moment. The crowd only sees the moment the wall falls. The crowd only sees the spotlight, the applause, the victory lap. But they never see the days you swung the hammer and nothing moved. The nights you stayed up late when the results were silent. The mornings you woke up early when no one cared yet. They never see the sweat before the success. That's why you must commit to persistence before the world gives you permission. Because the world will only believe after you believe first. And belief, real belief, isn't just in your mind. It's in your habits. Persistence is belief in motion. It's one thing to dream of success. It's another to stay in the game long enough to see it. Most people won't. Most people get bored. Most people get distracted. Most people confuse temporary discomfort with permanent defeat. But you are not most people. You are the person who understands that results take time, but quitting guarantees failure. You are the person who chooses patience over panic, progress over perfection, faith over fear. You are the person who stays in the fight long after the initial motivation is gone. There's no such thing as overnight success. There is only long nights of persistence. Edison spent years in the lab before he lit the world. Lincoln lost election after election before he led a nation. Disney lived in poverty, rejected by 300 banks before one yes built an empire. They didn't stop because the world told them no. They kept going because they told themselves yes. Your mind will try to trick you. It will whisper, "This is taking too long. This isn't working. Maybe this isn't for you." But persistence responds, "I'm not negotiating. I'm not leaving. I'm not stopping." Persistence silences the noise. It doesn't care how you feel today. It doesn't care how the world responds. It doesn't care how slow the process seems. It only cares about the long game. The problem is, most people are addicted to speed. They want instant results, instant feedback, instant success. But real success is slow-cooked, not microwaved. It's built brick by brick, day by day, choice by choice. Every day you persist, you plant seeds. Some will sprout now. Some will sprout next year. Some will sprout 5 years from now. But the harvest belongs to the person who keeps planting. Think of bamboo. For years, it seems like nothing is happening. You water it, you nurture it, you get no visible results. But underground, the roots are growing, expanding, building a foundation. Then suddenly, one day, it shoots up 90 feet in 6 weeks. That's persistence. Most people quit in the root phase. They walk away because they don't see immediate growth. But greatness happens beneath the surface first. You build the roots before you build the tree. You don't control when the breakthrough happens. You only control if you stay in the game long enough for it to arrive. Think of the mind like a muscle. The first time you lift weights, you don't see results. The second time, you don't see results. The third time, still nothing obvious. But if you stay consistent, if you persist, one day you wake up stronger. That's how success works. The mind grows through resistance. Persistence is your mental gym. Every time you persist, you're adding mental reps, building mental stamina, training resilience. Most people are mentally weak because they've never stayed in anything long enough to get strong. They chase new ideas instead of building mastery. They start over instead of pushing through. But mastery is on the other side of monotony. Persistence turns ordinary into extraordinary. Discipline keeps you moving. Persistence keeps you becoming. When you persist, you build an identity. You stop being a dabbler. You stop being a hobbyist. You become a professional at your purpose. And professionals don't stop when it's hard. They don't stop when it's boring. They don't stop when results are delayed. They keep going until it's done. Persistence transforms you into the person worthy of the results you seek. Because the result is not the real reward. The real reward is who you become in the process. Most people want the prize without the process. But the process is where the magic happens. That's where you develop focus. That's where you sharpen discipline. That's where you build resilience, resourcefulness, and unstoppable belief. It's not about chasing success. It's about becoming someone success cannot ignore. And that happens when you refuse to quit. Gratitude fuels persistence. Be grateful for the journey, not just the destination. Be grateful for the challenges. They're shaping you. Be grateful for the setbacks. They're strengthening you. Be grateful for the slow days. They're testing your commitment. Every challenge you face is preparing you for the next level. Persistence is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Adaptability is part of persistence. If the plan fails, change the plan, not the goal. Persistence is not stubbornness. It's strategic resilience. You adjust the method, but you never abandon the mission. Think of water flowing down a mountain. When it hits a rock, it doesn't stop. It goes around. When it hits a cliff, it doesn't quit. It becomes a waterfall. That's you. Flow around obstacles. Drop over cliffs if you have to, but keep flowing forward. Most people wait for the perfect time. But the perfect time is when you decide. It's not about conditions, it's about commitment. Persistence creates momentum. Momentum creates breakthroughs. Breakthroughs create transformation. Imagine what your life would look like if you refused to quit for the next year, for the next 5 years, for the rest of your life. Imagine who you would become if you chose persistence over panic, discipline over doubt, purpose over excuses. That version of you exists right now, inside you. But you have to outlast the old version of you. The version that gives up, the version that delays, the version that plays small. Persistence is how you bury the old you and resurrect the new you. So make the decision. I won't stop. I can't fail, because I'm still moving. No matter how long it takes, no matter how many times I fall, no matter how heavy it feels, I will persist. I will build. I will win. There is a threshold in every person's life, a moment where you either step forward into the life you were born to build, or you retreat back into the comfort of what you already know. Most people step back. They call it being realistic. They call it knowing their limits. But the persistent know better. They understand that limits are learned. Limits are not walls. They're warnings from the mind trying to keep you safe. But greatness is never found in safety. Comfort zones are cages. Persistence is the key. When you make persistence your standard, you don't live life avoiding difficulty. You demand it. Because you know that every time life tests you, you are sharpening your edge. The storm is not your enemy. The storm is your training ground. Think of the diamond. It is not formed by ease. It is formed under pressure. Persistence is your pressure, and greatness is the diamond waiting on the other side. Most people think persistence is about grinding until exhaustion. But that's not the point. Persistence is not burnout. It's not reckless hustle. It's about steady, strategic progress over time. It's the discipline to do what matters, day after day, long after the mood has left you. The people who change the world don't do it in a sprint. They do it in a relentless marathon of belief and action. They show up whether it rains or shines. They show up when they're inspired and when they're not. They show up when they're winning and when they're learning. And because they keep showing up, they eventually outlast the competition. Persistence is how you win a game that most people quit. But let's be clear. Persistence is not always about speed. Sometimes persistence means slowing down to reassess and adapt. Sometimes it means resting to refuel. Sometimes it means failing forward instead of pretending to be perfect. Persistence is about refusing to stop, not refusing to adjust. Thomas Edison once said, "Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up." Understand this deeply. You could be one decision away, one day away, one more try away from the breakthrough that changes everything. But you'll never know if you stop now. Persistence requires patience. Patience is not passive. It's not waiting for things to happen. It's trusting the process while you continue to move forward. It's staying focused when progress is invisible. Think about it. A seed planted underground doesn't sprout overnight. It breaks silently through the soil, hidden from view. Roots stretch deep before the first sprout is seen. If you walk away too soon, you kill what was already growing. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they stopped too soon. They mistook slow progress for no progress. But slow progress is still progress. And if you stay consistent, it compounds into something unstoppable. Life doesn't get easier. You get stronger. Persistence is how you build that strength. Every day you persist, you prove to yourself, "I am the kind of person who keeps going." That belief compounds. It builds mental armor. So when life throws the next challenge your way, you don't flinch, because you've trained for this. Repetition is reputation. And your reputation with yourself is everything. Most people talk about confidence like it's magic. But confidence is earned. It's the byproduct of kept promises to yourself. And persistence is the ultimate promise. When you refuse to quit, you become someone you can trust. And self-trust is the foundation of a powerful life. This isn't about ego. It's about ownership. Ownership of your thoughts. Ownership of your habits. Ownership of your destiny. You will face resistance. That's not a sign to stop. That's a sign you're on the right path. Because nothing worth building comes without friction. Friction is how you build fire. Pressure is how you build strength. Persistence is how you build legacy. The world is full of people who start. Few finish. The world is full of people who dream. Few do. The world is full of people who try. Few persist. But the persistent, the ones who burn their bridges to the past and commit fully to the future, they change everything. They build companies, movements, and masterpieces. They inspire nations. They leave behind blueprints for generations to follow. Their names echo because they stayed in the game when most people left the field. You can become one of them, not because you're special, but because you choose to become relentless. Decide right now. I won't stop at the first no. I won't stop at the first failure. I won't stop when it gets hard. I won't stop when it gets boring. I won't stop when it gets lonely. Because persistence is not just about winning. It's about becoming unbreakable. When you become unbreakable, success stops being optional. It becomes inevitable. Not because the world owes you anything, but because you've refused to leave the arena. Most people quit because they measure success by the clock. But the persistent measure success by commitment to the process. If you stay in the process long enough, success has no choice but to arrive. You don't need perfect timing. You need perfect dedication. You don't need the right conditions. You need the right mindset. You don't need luck. You need persistence. So from this day forward, burn the plan B. Erase the escape route. Delete the exit strategy. Decide that you are the one who will see it through. All the way, no matter how long it takes. That's power. That's greatness. That's legacy. This is not motivation. This is identity transformation. From now on, you are the person who persists. You are the person who never leaves the fight early. You are the person who finishes what they start. You don't just want success. You outlast it until it's yours. Won't stop. Can't fail. That's the code you live by now. Because when you refuse to stop, failure becomes impossible.